What is up, guys? This is a new YouTube video from Brainy Days. Today's we're gonna pretty much just talk about one single topic, which is why is YouTube making you stuck on your self-learning journey? Why is it killing your self-learning? All right, I know this shit kind of sounds like clickbaity or like I'm just pulling out shit on my ass, but basically what I mean with this is pretty much just 4 points, which I'm just going to go through one by one. Right? Okay, so we have the first one. Basically, just YouTube overcomplicates simple and straightforward stuff. Now, when I say YouTube, I don't just mean the platform, of course. I'm talking about content creators, the people that are famous in this niche and in this space, just by talking about how you can get, get better at learning and like simple like non-linear learning and whatever. And of course there are a lot of really awesome and great tips, but there is a little bit of a problem with all of this, and that is that people overcomplicate things, because when you can overcomplicate and just add a lot of complexity, not only does it seem more difficult and thus more necessary to pay for a course or content to teach it to you, because it is just fake complexity. Okay, it is added complexity which is not real and does not serve a real purpose. It is just there to add vibes to, you know what I'm saying, and not only vibes but just overcomplicate the thing. Because for example, what am I talking about? This is a lot of abstract stuff, but if I just put it in a concrete example, right? A lot of people talking about, for example, learning, self-teaching a topic, and they talk about, okay, you need to have this routine for using a prioritization thing and a calendar thing, and this specific way of note taking and the Feynman technique, and this way of doing this and this other way, when in reality you can go a lot further, a lot more faster as well, if you just, for example, get a base of knowledge that you already have, know which type of analogies you tend to do, and then just trying to build a map of whatever topic you're trying to learn by finding constant analogies to the things that you already know. If you do that, for example, you can make a lot more progress than just trying to make the best obsidian second brain template possible. Anyways, that is the first reason. We're going to go to the second one, which is that cookie cutter plans are pretty much held over personal adaptation to specific people. And what I mean by that is that cookie cutter plans are what people sell. And by people selling this, and what do I mean by a cookie cutter plan? I mean specific courses which do not take into account how people learn differently and how much just your personality and your quirkiness and specific things that you like, which a lot of people do not, and specific references of topics, be it obscure or not obscure at all, that you can have, just make those things just can make the learning a totally different experience for one versus the other. So if you follow a cookie cutter plan or course, which is like, okay, this works for everyone, it isn't that it doesn't work, but more so that you need to adjust the expectations and always remember that the 90% of the things that you can have when self-teaching, majority of them will come from just making an emphasis on your own personal learning style. And after that point, after the overcomplicating simple and straightforward stuff, the cookie cutter plans over the personal adaptation, there is also the content that leads you on and enables you to procrastinate. What is this? So, this type of content is the one that just encourages you to take everything as this super long journey, and basically kind of isn't being as honest as you can be with the fact that you can make a lot of changes really fast just by doing the things that you don't want to do. And this is a pretty universal thing that can apply to a lot of things, not only self learning, but it also specifically applies heavily here because a lot of content is made just so you can basically be stuck in a loop of consuming content and never really changing. Because if you change, then you don't consume content and you're not a person who is viable to be sold, not a consumer anymore. And it's not bad to consume or buy things that help you. I am planning to drop a school community of my own on this. So I am not really a person that's against this, but rather I am against just trying to lead people on huge and complex processes and be simplified. And a lot of value you can get just by free stuff like I'm talking right now, and by changes of mentality more so than specific content and like you should do this step 1 and step 2 and step 3, And the fourth and final thing I want to say is that this space is promoting shallow learning and expertise in a specific age where this is the most important thing you need to fix unless you want to die by AI. Just fucking around. Like, unless you want to just become obsolete and shit. And why am I talking about self learning and all of this? It's because I'm a person that has heavily been self learning all my life. My current job, I've gotten through self learning. I have not studied in university anything, and I'm currently working as a penetration tester. And before I was a software developer, all of the things that I've worked at in all. And I also learned like music, different instruments to sing, different languages. This is not my first language. So a lot of things like that. So I know that what works for me can work for you as well. That is why I'm saying that you promote, or if not only you promote, but if you consume channels that promote shallow learning and expert, for example, people that prioritize learning things through apps like Blinkist, through just just the quick things you can get from ChatGPT, AI, or whatever. You know, all of these things, yes, they can seem like aiding you in speed in whatever. But the real truth here is that that speed is going by so fast because you're not really learning anything. You feel like you're productive, but you just learning the bare bones and not even that. That is what I wanted to talk about. So you should really just aim to have a deeper and deeper learning and expertise of every topic that you have, be it by just trying to connect it to your different interests, having analogies that relate it, or like saying, okay, this reminds me of, for example, I don't know, this particular thing of how a CPU and memory work in a computer remind me of, for example, a restaurant, the dynamic between the kitchen and the cook, whatever. There are a lot of ways which you find different analogies, and that it is what promotes learning. Yeah, just those four things are really what I wanted to talk about.